and the domestic market for timber. We were looking at those pictures of Chen's of the international trade before, and you know, in a lot of countries, even where there's a lot of focus on the international trade, like in Indonesia, there's a huge domestic market. In Brazil, the same thing. And in Mexico, obviously, that's the case. Much harder to trace, much less documentation of what's going where, and no demand for certified timber or legal timber, no system like you have beginning to develop in the international markets. Without further ado, and I am conscious of the time, we want to leave some time, we will go on to hear from Gustavo Sanchez Valle, who is going to give us another perspective from Mexico. He's the president of the directive board of the Mexican Network of Organizations of Forest Communities, I think it would be, yep, the Forest Peasant Organization. That's a network of 54 local and regional peasant and indigenous organizations that own or possess forests. They are in turn part of the Mesoamerican Alliance of People in Forests. It's an organization that gathers similar organizations from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So quite an impressive network, and we're looking forward to hear your perspectives. Please.
Gracias. Voy a hablar en español y Eduardo de Reforestamos México me va a hacer el favor de hacer la traducción al inglés.
Bueno, Gustavo lo saluda. No, I have to talk in English. Gustavo said that he's going to be talking in Spanish and then I'm going to be translating.
Buenas tardes a todos. Como ya señaló, represento a la Red Mexicana de Organizaciones Campesinas Forestales y tengo también el privilegio de representar a la Alianza Mesoamericana de Pueblos y Bosques.
As Chip said, I'm representing Red MOCAF and the Mesoamerican Alliance of Peoples and Forests.
Agradezco el espacio tanto a Traffic como a Reforestamos México para participar en este evento.
Gustavo is thanking space to Traffic and to Reforestamos México.
Creo que no pasa la lámina.
Can we move to the next slide, please?
Okay. Bueno, vamos a hablar un poco de dos aspectos en la presentación, los factores que explican el comercio ilegal en México y las propuestas respecto a fortalecer el marco legal.
The presentation is divided into two different subjects: the factors that explain illegal markets in Mexico and the proposals towards strengthening a fair and legal market.
Estas propuestas coinciden mucho con la presentación que hizo Ernesto respecto a las condiciones que imperan en México, y al final compartiré una propuesta común a la Alianza Mesoamericana respecto a mercados emergentes como es el mercado de carbono.
These proposals are pretty in line with what Ernesto from Reforestamos presented. On the second part of the presentations, I will be presenting a proposal coming from the Mesoamerican Alliance regarding carbon and other markets.
Mercados emergentes, ¿no?
Emerging markets, such as carbon.
Bueno, entre los factores que explican la existencia de un mercado ilegal está lo complicado de los procedimientos a nivel de burocracia para obtener un permiso o para tener más bien la aprobación de un programa de manejo.
Among the factors that explain illegal markets, there is the one that about the complicated procedures to obtain the approval of management plans.
Otro de los factores es a nivel de las inversiones gubernamentales. Son pocas las inversiones que se hacen para cuestiones productivas y de desarrollo, y la mayoría de los subsidios son para fines asistenciales.
the investment that the government is making in forest communities in Mexico is more related to assistential kind of subsidies and not to productive activities.
En la lámina se ve a un grupo de compañeros que están usando madera para construir unas instalaciones para una secadora de café.
In the photograph, we can appreciate some people that are building a facility for drying coffee, and they are usually using timber.
Hay una incipiente cultura a nivel empresarial de consumir madera ilegal y también una incipiente cultura ciudadana de consumir productos que sean elaborados con materias primas de procedencia legal.
There is an incipient corporate and consumer culture of legal consumption of products that are coming from the forests.
Hay una muy baja productividad tanto en el bosque como en la industria y de manera de que la extracción ilegal de madera es un mecanismo salvaje para mantenerse en el mercado, es decir, se tiende a explotar un recurso en términos extensivos más que hacerlo de manera eficiente.
The low productivity in the forest and in the industry creates an incentives for having wild extractions just to keep the competitiveness online.
En la lámina se muestra a un compañero en la parte de abajo que está haciendo podas, que es una de las cuestiones de cultivo.
In the photograph at the bottom, we see a guy doing podas. I don't know what the word for poda is. Clearing, forest clearing, pruning.
Pruning, my dear.
El combate a la estrategia de combate a la ilegalidad es débil y además está centrada en la coerción hacia la gente de los bosques y no hacia el regular los centros de transformación y comercio.
Illegality combat strategy is weak and centered in coercion towards the forest people and not in the transformation and trade facilities.
Y persiste un prejuicio en la ciudadanía de que el consumo de madera destruye los bosques.
And there is a persistent prejudice regarding timber, where consumption is associated with forest destruction.
Bueno, estas son algunas de los factores que desde nuestro punto de vista explican el comercio ilegal y bueno, tenemos algunas propuestas al respecto que me parece que coinciden en mucho con lo que señaló tanto Chen como Ernesto.
These were some of the reasons that we believe that are promoting illegal trade. And that coincides with what Chen and Ernesto have been presenting.
La primera, en la parte de diseño institucional, necesitamos unir lo que es el fomento, las autorizaciones y la normatividad, que actualmente las tenemos en dependencias separadas.
On the proposal side, the first one would be on the institutional design, gathering the agencies that are in charge of promotion, authorizations, and normativity, because they are all scattered.
El marco legal y normativo, en el marco legal y normativo necesitamos hacer más fácil el manejo y el aprovechamiento sustentable.
In the legal and normative framework, we need to ease management and sustainable extraction.
Por ejemplo, la ley debe de contemplar el otorgamiento de permisos de aprovechamiento a quienes realizan reforestaciones de terrenos.
For example, the law the authorities should be granting permits to those that are carrying out reforestation activities.
Necesitamos que los instrumentos de política pública, como son los programas de subsidios, tengan más apoyos hacia la parte productiva y menos hacia la parte de incentivos únicamente al ingreso o asistenciales.
We need on the public policy side instruments and subsidies that promote productiveness and less subsidies that are focused on welfare or income subsidies.
Es decir, necesitamos más apoyo a comunidades para manejo en el monte y para transformar sus productos.
We need more support to community forestry activities on the forest and in the transformation. Sorry.
Se requiere tener acceso al financiamiento y crédito que actualmente en México en bosques es prácticamente inexistente.
We need wider access to finance and credit that in Mexico in the forest sector is almost inexistent.
Necesitamos fomentar una mayor cultura empresarial en términos ambientales y sociales, particularmente en los sectores de la construcción, de tarimas, embalajes y en la industria de muebles.
We need a strengthening of a corporate social and environmental culture, particularly in the construction, pallet, packing, and furniture sectors.
También necesitamos fortalecer una cultura ciudadana de consumo de productos legales.
We also need to strengthen the culture of consumption of legal products in the general public.
Finalmente, quisiéramos compartir una reflexión sobre el incipiente mercado de carbono, en donde necesitamos hacer énfasis no solo en la parte de legalidad, sino también en la parte de justicia. Nosotros proponemos impulsar un mercado legal y justo de carbono, donde las comunidades locales y los pueblos indígenas sean reconocidos como los dueños de las emisiones evitadas, como los dueños del carbono en sus diferentes facetas, ya sea carbono evitado, carbono acumulado o bien carbono incrementado.
Finally, we want to share reflections on the incipient carbon market, putting an emphasis not just on the legality but on the justice as well. Justice where indigenous peoples and communities own the carbon in its different ways, even if it's avoided, stored, or increased.
Proponemos un principio a nivel internacional de que el carbono, la propiedad del mismo y los beneficios derivados de estos incentivos o comercio sea reconocido a favor de las comunidades que cuidan, que cultivan y conservan los bosques.
We are proposing an international principle for the recognition of carbon and its benefits for indigenous communities, indigenous peoples and forest communities.
Y hacemos énfasis que la propiedad del carbono no necesariamente tiene que estar ligada a la propiedad de la tierra. En México así sucede, pero en la mayor parte de los países de Mesoamérica, las comunidades locales y los pueblos indígenas no tienen la propiedad de la tierra, pero sí son quienes conservan y quienes manejan sustentablemente los bosques.
And we have to understand that the ownership of the forest is not related with the ownership of the carbon. In Mexico, it happens that way. You have the tenure of the land and of the carbon, but there are other places where the tenure of the forest is not from the indigenous people, but the forest carbon is, because they are the ones that are taking care and are managing the forest.
Bien, pues les agradezco muchísimo su atención y particularmente a Eduardo, que lo he estado poniendo en algunos aprietos.
And he thanks everyone for its attention, and especially me.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Gustavo. Very interesting. I was thinking this problem of blaming the little guy when it says something in this whole effort on illegal logging that crops up in a lot of countries and is worth thinking about, that when officials get in their mind that it's there's a need for whatever political or legal or economic reasons to crack down, it tends not to be the big timber barons who get in trouble. It tends to be the the little guy out there in the smallholder or something like that. And it's sort of how you make sure that you deal with law enforcement in equitable ways is obviously a big issue. Okay, so without further ado, let's pass on to Wale Adelake, we're going across the Gulf of Mexico, across the Caribbean Sea, across the Atlantic to the big continent of Africa now, and your different experience. And Wale is a forester with more than 30 years of experience in tropical forestry. He's currently working on as the Red Forest Governance Thematic Coordinator at IUCN. He's based in Accra in Ghana, and he's previously worked for the government of Nigeria and WWF in Switzerland, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire. And he's going to tell us a bit about how some of these issues are playing out in Ghana and a few other places. So take it away, Wale.
Thank you, Chief. When Chen started the discussion about illegality or legality of timber, he went through a lot of the issues of importance. I just want to share some experience that we have in Africa, coming in from Africa and as an African forester. I've contributed working for the government of Nigeria as a chainsawer. So I carried the chainsaw and actually as a trained forester of 30 years experience, what we were taught in school was sustainable yield. We were not taught about sustainable management. But then after 10 years of working for the government, I became a tree hugger and actually started talking about sustainable management after going through the process of knowing the difference between sustained yield and sustainable management. So the blame that we have from the African perspective is not only about, it's the difference of perception of what forestry is and what it's not. So I'm going to take you through the kind of experience that we have from the region, especially concentrating on one of the tools that's put together by the European Union, which is called Voluntary Partnership Agreement. When I heard that word voluntary, I wrote up a piece about it because I didn't see it as voluntary actually. I see it as a soft enforcement law, but at least it's agreed that it's voluntary. I think I'm going to, okay. Okay. As usual, Africa is one of the continents that is poor. So timber and the forest resources we have is a source of revenue for us, and it's a source of trade for us. But most of the way we produce it is mostly illegal, maybe because we need the resources more, and then we have to get it as quickly as possible. One of the reasons that is responsible for doing it that way is because we have very poor governance. It's not only about forests, but I put it as poor forest governance here, but then we have very poor forest governance, and it has paid dearly for all of us. We have lost most of our forest resources, and now we are trying to, as much as possible, get back to where we can say we have the forest back. Starting from 2003, there has been some kind of political response to the issue of illegal forest sector development through the African Forest Law Enforcement and Governance ministerial conference which was held in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And there the ministers of Africa agreed and came out with some 12-point declaration which they said they want to reduce illegal activities. The EU, as I said, introduced one tool which they call the Voluntary Partnership Agreement. The VPA actually came in from the broader EU Forest Action Plan, which Chair referred to. And when you look at the EU Forest Action Plan, it is not only about the agreement, it is more about how to reduce illegality and how to get sustainable forest management. The civil society groups, after so many years of lack of cohesive pressure groups to the African government, the civil society group, especially in the forestry sector, became very important, and they were able to advocate and mobilize the populace to talk about forest governance and actually build the capacity of people and forest communities so that they can start asking questions of their government. Then the issues that were raised by my colleagues from Mexico became very relevant here, the multi-stakeholder process.